Hey, what's happening, everybody? It's me, Crazyfrankie, and I'd like to welcome you to my Week 8 4 key game picks. Quick thoughts from week number 7. As we go around into the way the league has transponded in these last 7 weeks, at the top of the class right now, it's really the Philadelphia Eagles. It's really become quite a surprise, despite the fact that a lot of us people say, the Patriots were going to be the top of the class, right? Or maybe the Chiefs, or maybe the Steelers, or the Cowboys and all. But really, it's been pretty unpredictable this last 7 weeks of the season. Like I was saying, the Eagles are currently at 6-1. Then we have the 5-2 club, which is the Steelers, Chiefs, Patriots, Vikings, and the Rams that are currently at the tops. Currently at the tops with records of 5-2. Well, it's really tough to say what will transpond as we go into the second half of the season, which begins next week with Week 9, because that is the halfway point. You would think that Week 8 would be the halfway point. It's actually Week number 9. Week number 9 is actually the halfway point of the season. But if I had to say right now, currently, what I think right now, what's going on in the league, as I said weeks ago, lately it's just not a clear. There's no really clear-cut favorite going into the second half of the season. It's kind of been juggling up and down lately. There is no more undefeated teams, and the teams that I just talked about with these records right now, they are quite in some. These teams are kind of in dogfights in their respective divisions right now, with the exception of the Eagles, which currently right now they control the NFC East pretty heavily right now. I don't really think that anybody in the NFC East may stop them unless maybe the Cowboys can start getting on a run or something like that. But I will get into that a little bit later, because the Cowboys are going to be in one of my key game picks, and what I will get into in just a few minutes. One quick thought from the Raiders and Chiefs game. Now, anybody who saw that Thursday night game, it actually was a thriller. But a lot of it was referee involved. I do have a lot of questions during that game. The penalties at the end of the game, the defensive holding twice on the Chiefs, and then allowing David Carr to score the winning touchdown. I don't know. Look, the Raiders had their pause. It was a game they needed to have, because in order to keep pace in that AFC West division, which now has gotten even more interesting with the way the standings have become. But yeah, like I'm saying, there really is no clear-cut favorite right now in the NFL. The way a lot of these NFL teams are playing right now, so we could be in for a very, very interesting second half of the NFL season, which is total uncertainty right now of who may be the favorite to win Super Bowl 52. Anyways, let's go straight to my Week 8 picks. Let us begin with key game number 1. It is the Oakland Raiders and the Buffalo Bills. I never thought I'd be talking about the Bills as a key game here, but it is actually. And let me just say, if you go back to Derek Carr's heroics as he went 29 of 52, 417 yards and 3 touchdown passes in a game that really, in all honesty, look, the Chiefs and Raiders, that game was hard fought, and the Raiders won in the end. But clearly their defense is still an issue. The game went back and forth. You could say, yeah, well, Kansas City didn't do well defensively. If they say their defense was better than the Raiders, then they should have beaten them. Yes, that's kind of the case, but really right now, I think the Raiders' more defense right now, they really need to step up. Even Bowman, as they signed last week, he is providing some relief to that defense, but I still think they need a little bit more of the pass rush here, and they need to find a way to stop the run. And of course, they're going to be... Well, I don't know if Marshawn Lynch is going to play in this game, because he is suspended for one game after he had an altercation with a referee. Obviously, he was defending a player, and I kind of agree with that. He did what he had to do in the defense of a player, but other than that, I don't know if it'll be too costly. Because Buffalo is only a 2.5-point favorite in this one, and they barely beat the Buccaneers last week. Taylor went 20 of 33, 1 touchdown pass and 268 yards, and a game that went back and forth between them and the Bucs. So this is definitely going to be a very, very hard-fought game between these two teams. I think it'll be low scoring, but it's a tough pick here. This is not a guaranteed pick, because the way the Raiders are playing, and the game that they needed to have last week against the Chiefs, don't be surprised now if they're going to play even more tougher in this game against Buffalo. Even though Buffalo isn't home in this game, they're 2.5, and I do agree with that. Probably maybe going to maybe 1.5 by the end of the week. But who wins this game? It's going to be a very close game. I expect it low scoring. But I'm actually going to go with the Buffalo Bills here. Let's see how the Raiders do against it. I mean, it's been a long time since the Raiders have won in Buffalo, and that was because the team hasn't been good in years until recently. Buffalo's not that much of a strong team either, and this is a game that actually Buffalo needs to have in order to keep pace with the Patriots in the AFC East. So yeah, this is a game they gotta have. Oakland kind of needs this game too to keep pace in the AFC West, but I think the Bills, as a home favorite in this one, I kind of agree with that, and I expect it to be a very, very hard-fought game, but I'm going to go with the Bills here. It's not a sure pick here, but it should be a good game in Buffalo here. So that's why I'm going to pick the Bills. So Bills over the Raiders. Key game number 2, it is the Texans at the Seahawks. Now, the Texans were on their bye week last week, but their rookie corner, Deshaun Watson, this is his current stats right now going into this game. You know, he's gone for 58 completions out of 94 passes he's thrown. He's already over 1,200 yards and 15 touchdowns. That's actually pretty good for a rookie. I mean, I haven't seen stats like that since maybe probably Ben Roethlisberger's stats in 2004. But really right now, Watson's really has gotten that team on track. But when you're going into an environment in Seattle, now I know you're going to say, look, Seattle hasn't been playing that well. Yes, that may be true. But as a rookie, you want to be able to handle games on the road. Seattle's a 5.5 point favorite in this game. I kind of agree with that, but don't be surprised if that number probably goes down to 4.5. I mean, I know Houston has their injury issues, and without the presence of J.J. Watt, it is going to be kind of hard defensively for Houston to really do a number on Seattle's offense. Even though, look, Seattle's offensive line still is not good. Now, Wilson last week going 27 and 39, 334 yards in passing and 3 touchdown passes. He got pretty good on a week that the Giants practically laid an egg last week. So I expect this game to be somewhat close, but I think I'm going to pick Seattle here, the Seahawks here. I think they'll win this game. It'll be close. This is another game I probably expect to be close, the way Houston's offense is playing. But Seattle's record at home, they're good at home, and I do like them, especially when they're at home. And I really think the Seahawks will win this game here, but I expect this game to be pretty good too. So really, it's going to come down to which offense will light it up, in this game and win this game as well. And I think I'm going to pick the Seahawks here, but I think it'll be close. I like the Seahawks probably by 10 here, but I'm going to stick with that. Seahawks over the Texans. Key game number 3, the Dallas Cowboys and the Washington Redskins. Redskins need this game very badly. Very, very badly. Now, you're going to say, well, what about the Cowboys? They're struggling too. Yes, that may be the case, but they're finally back on a roll. They're finally at 500. They're back to 500 football here. And I think they're one game over 500, I think. In a way that the Cowboys have been playing right now, they're starting to get on a groove here. The Redskins right now are really struggling here. Prescott last week against the 49ers in a game that they needed to blow out the 49ers to make a statement here, going 16 of 25, 234 yards and 3 touchdown passes. Obviously, it was a game that they had to make a statement, especially the 49ers are a bad team, and they won big last week, scoring 40 points on them. As far as the Redskins goes, Cousins going 30 of 40. Now, he actually played pretty good against the Eagles last week, but the Eagles were a much better team last week, and that one was kind of expected. I mean, Cousins went 30 of 40, 303 yards and 3 touchdown passes. So he actually had a pretty good game, but unfortunately, Washington's defense just didn't have enough to stop the Eagles' offense. And it's going to be kind of the same against the Cowboys here. If they're struggling on defense here, I don't know if Josh Norman will be back in this game. He didn't play last week, and they really need him badly on defense. So it's a lot of questions right now whether he's going to be back for this game. But the way the Cowboys are playing right now, they're getting back on a groove here. Defensively, I know they're kind of struggling a little bit here. But I still like the Cowboys in this game. I think the Washington Redskins, I think if they lose this game, they're pretty much going to be out of contention in the NFC East. And all hell's going to break loose with Snyder and the Redskins in that front office. And the reason why I like the Cowboys, Prescott's on a roll. Ezekiel Elliott is starting to get back into his groove again. And that's why I'm going to pick the Cowboys here. But don't be surprised if this game ends up being close. But I still like the Cowboys in this one. I think they'll win by 13 here. This might be a game, but I think the Cowboys pull away in the second half here. With the way the Redskins defense is playing, it's gonna be very, very difficult for them to stop the Cowboys here if they don't have everybody back on defense. And Josh Norman needs to be in this game. Otherwise, I see the Cowboys winning this game. That's why I'm picking the Cowboys over the Redskins. And finally, key game number 4, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Detroit Lions. Now, Pittsburgh last week, a big win over Cincinnati last week. Roethlisberger going 14 of 24, 224 yards in passing and 2 touchdown passes in a game that they pretty much had very easily last week against the Bengals. Bengals aren't a good team. But in this case, you're going into Detroit here, and the Lions are actually going to be this is actually going to be a tough game for Pittsburgh here. Now, the Lions were on their bye week, and in their previous game against the Saints, despite it being a high-scoring game, Stanford with 25 of 52 with 312 yards in passing and 3 touchdown passes. In some games at home, the Lions are not a bad home team. I expect this game to be hard-fought. And the way the Pittsburgh's playing right now, especially with the way Roethlisberger's been playing, I mean, it's really a roller coaster season for him. One game he's playing well, and one game he's laying eggs. So it's really tough to say who wins this game here. I expect this game to be very, very close on Sunday night. And it should be a very good game in Detroit here. But I kind of am going to go with Pittsburgh here. I'm going to go with the Steelers here, but this is a game that is not a sure pick here. Pittsburgh is a 3-point favorite in this one. Don't be surprised if that number goes to 2. Oh, I forget to mention, going back from the last pick, the Cowboys are a 2-point favorite in that one. Going back to this game here, yeah, Steelers are a 3-point favorite in this one. Don't be surprised if that one goes to 2. The Lions tend to make it a game in their building, and this is the kind of game, you could expect maybe a trap game for Pittsburgh here. But I think Pittsburgh, once they start getting on their groove, I kind of like it. This is, like I said, this is not a sure pick here. I think this game's going to go back and forth here. So it might come down to the fourth quarter and who will win the game with their offense. Which team's gonna basically have the ball and win this game here. So yeah, like I said, not a sure pick here. I'm going to go with the Steelers here, and I'm going to stick with it. Steelers over the Lions. All right, everybody, that wraps up my picks for week number 8. For all of my week 8 picks, go to thesparkblog.blogspot.com. Don't forget to come back next week when I talk about my picks for week number 9. Until then, everybody, take care and enjoy your football weekend.